See, that's the signals there. That anything is possible. OMG, they really have to hope that is true. Hard matchup for them today. They are against the top team in the LPL and Bilibili Gaming, and they have been on form. Lunfeng stepping in rather, for Angel in the mid lane for OMG, as well as we pass on our condolences to Angel, whose father passed away recently. Both teams very aware of this. It's going to be, I'm going to say, a somber occasion, but it's definitely one where it does hang over the background just a little bit. We get into draft for the first game. I think BLG, they've definitely realized that, you know, the Viego has been a big part of how Xiaofeng has played out a lot of these games for OMG. OMG look very good with the Viego, allows them to play towards those reset combos. Without it, they have looked a little bit more toothless. First pick, Renekton for Cube coming in to stop Bin getting his hands on that, to have a bit more of a stable, less volatile laning phase.
Our eyes on it, of course, as already the Renekton locked in, likely for Cube. Of course, reflexive Renekton has kind of disappeared from the meta a little bit. Lucian on the other side, very early on, alongside the Xin Zhao. Already a very aggressive duo of carries to start fighting around the bot side. Enable auto-locks the Aphelios Milia.
Because effectively, I think that OMG realized, okay, BLG are looking for bot side 3v3 with the Lucian Xin Zhao. You know that already. They take away the Milia, which means that they go towards the Nami. Aphelios Milio, sometimes seen the Aphelios Lulu being locked into it as well. In fact, I think T1 Gen G was a great example of how you can use the Aphelios Lulu to hold down the Lucian Nami in lane and stop them pushing up, winning lane, getting vision, and winning bot side 3v3. So OMG, they need a jungler to complete this equation. They won't have probably stuff like Vi or Lee Sin, maybe. We'll see exactly what's going to get taken away from Xiaofeng. But I really feel like BLG, they're just going to ban away potentially with something from the jungle. But instead, they're just saying, no, actually, it's the mid lane picks going away. Akali away from Lunfeng, as you've said, he's going to be a...
Yasuo, there it is!
It's the Akali Yasuo 2-trick, whereas Knight being banned... I mean, I think Knight is the best RA in the world. Absolutely no surprise that gets banned away.
And of course, that's not to say Lunfeng doesn't play other stuff. In the LDL, it's a forced commodity, so he has got other things in the pocket, but those are obviously the famous
and also, folks, we saw Ben hover it. We saw some others in there as well, of course. The Kayle hovers for Angel. The Angel of League of Legends watching over the shoulders today as well. Again, it's just there in the background. I have to say, I'm really glad that BLG are kind of, you know, understanding the moment as well. And of course, Bin went to a World Finals with Angel and Suning as well. So for him as well, a bit more of a personal connection there too.
Of course, it is a long time since those days, but this is a nice moment to show a little bit of solidarity across a really terrible moment for one of the stars of the league. As we look over instead to see BLG think about locking in topside. There it is again.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's standing for. I doubt it's locked in quite yet. Maybe if it comes to a game 2 and there's a lead, maybe someone feels the need to throw a little bit of a salute more
I haven't seen a Kayle in a long time.
No, I haven't either. I'm not sure where it'll be like in the current meta, but it would be a hell of a thing.
From what I've heard, Blade Rylai's Kayle is so obnoxiously strong because you just get permanent slows, which just means that it's absolutely disgusting. But yeah, look, we'll talk about that when it comes to it. We've been going towards the Gragas. It's fine. It's the Renekton safe laning phase. You can punt him out of the fight, and also in some fights too, what you can do is you can kind of use the Xin Zhao ult to separate one target out and use the Gragas to punt out either the Aphelios or the Renekton to stop that being a threat. And it is going to be the Yone blind pick into the mid lane. I mean, Lunfeng says, alright, I got my champions, let's go for it.
Thinking about locking the Maokai in alongside it, and in fairness, that is then a lot of zone control here, and the Aphelios a lot harder to get a hold of if you've got to deal with this Yone and this Maokai prowling around and looking to pounce on potentially an erstwhile Elk who steps too far forwards on the Lucian. What does Knight want to lock into the Yone? He's currently hovering the LeBlanc, but I'm not sure where I feel that goes in the current meta. Wait and see where they end up. Of course, Knight exactly shy on champion pool. So,
no, not at all.
He should have his own options. It does feel like LeBlanc has kind of gone a long way from being the truly meta pick she has been, especially with the static Shiv nerfs, but it's locked in regardless. Knight never really letting go of those AP LeBlanc ways, so looking to really spike early with the LeBlanc, the Lucian, the 2-item power spike here in the mid game going to be brutal for BLG.
I really feel like one item gets hit and the whole map explodes. So much power on both sides, actually, in regards to that. I don't think one team necessarily outscales the other. I think you could argue that OMG outscale in a 5v5 sense. I just don't see them getting to a point where they have items to do that, though. Elk and On. I think at this point we can call them convincingly.
There we go.
They are the best bot lane in the LPL as it stands. You know, they've seen through top esports and JDG. I think that Ruler and Missing, they've been too inconsistent for me to call them that. On the other side, Jacklove and Mako, sometimes they've had their bad moments too. I really feel like Elkin On. Besides On having some bad moments himself and stuff like the Maokai went 0-5 on. This duo has done so well. So Abel and PP God, they can flip lanes versus pretty much any different 2v2 in the league. It will still be a threat. They have Abel on Aphelios as well, one of his best champions of all time. I really feel like this bot lane could be where push comes to shove, particularly with 3v3 bot side with a Xin Sao in the equation.
It does feel that way. Gotta hold on and see how it all plays out in the long run of things, of course, because BLG, if they don't get snowballing, and actually the Maokai gets to start setting up some of those sapling traps, and the Yone begins to start making Elk's life quite difficult. Aphelios Milio has been an okay answer into things like the Lucian. We saw it over in LCK, where I believe Pays managed to deal with the T1 bot lane.
I already talked about that, and it was Aphelios Lulu rather than Aphelios Milio.
There you go.
I mentioned it when it was locked in.
Oh, there you go. I was looking a little bit further forward in the draft. There you go. The answer, bears repeating, perhaps, is the way we'll get our way out of that particular trap. And see whether it plays out on the Rift, because, of course, Longfong stepping in is a mechanically gifted mid laner, make no mistake, but this is a pretty brutal debut on very short notice, nonetheless.
Yeah, Knight going towards... we occasionally see stuff like the Lethal Tempo... Not Lethal Tempo, the First Strike onto the AP LeBlancs, but I think in this case, you're just there for the electrocute and say, look, burst out the Yone. Yone, of course, really nasty champ to play against, gets sustain in his kit. The W means you can trade through a lot of burst as well. BLG have snuck into bot side on a really weird pathing. Are they going to walk away from this brush? They are. Saying, look, let's just not test this. They don't walk up to the brush. It's going to be a first strike proc on a W, and that will be it. BLG, interesting how they're already just sat there going, let's see what we can get.
Exactly, and that does mean Elk is going to go into the enemy jungle, drop a ward on the red buff to have an idea about when it's stopping, as Cube and Bin trade out on the other side. Bin wins that one just about with a well-timed body slam.
One thing to note for, we've seen it with Karma today, as Longfang actually stacks his Q early onto the Raptors. That can be a very important thing. You can do that. So he gets a Q start very early. It means that you don't get to have like no trading potential. This is actually very good from Longfang. We don't always see the owners do this, but I think it's such a heavy potential kill mashup. You just need access to that wave to get potential Q stacks for your ranged poke coming through, but I was going to say something else before. Tether changes came through in this patch as well. So LeBlanc, Karma, if you flash away from the tether, it instantly breaks. You won't have that kind of like quarter-second layover time where it's just kind of still connected and can sometimes mean you get rooted after you flash.
Yeah, of course. A little bit of a nerf there to LeBlanc, who's kind of been suffering a bit from the success of Static Shiv, and so her own numbers haven't been, I think, exceptional for a little while. Still kind of trying to figure out exactly what items she wants to go, especially with Storm Surge nerfs as well. Doesn't have that many great items to work with as a champion right now.
PP God using the heal to make sure that Abel doesn't get tapped with a Q after the double tap, and just make sure that I can't get that big trade. A lot of Lucian Milio versus Lucian versus the Aphelios is about spacing. Aphelios can just about outrange the Lucian at the right kind of points, but as it stands right now, Elk judging the tower range fantastically well, using the full breadth of his extra mana as well, of his mana bar. He doesn't have a Doran's Blade. He's gone for the longsword start. He does have 3 pots. He was expecting a brawl. He's gotten it right now.
Has indeed. Of course, the problem is with that mana being down, gets a bit scary. Shun, though, has managed to make his way into the red buff. Xiaofang, be aware of that, though, with a sapling toss. We'll spot out Shun there. He is the one tanking the red buff. It's looking like it might well be a smite fight here. Guys on Elkanon, though, they could come over to try and assist on this red buff invade. And I think Xiaofang, with the ward there, can still look to maybe snipe this away, but is in a very scary position. We'll need to Q smite, does so, and now gets to run away with the phase rush.
He's starting to heal up a little bit from the red buff now as well, importantly so. Still, bot side 3v3. This is exactly what we called out from the draft. Shun has flash. He's charged up his Q as well. See right there, using the camp to charge up the Q. 5 more seconds till he gets that again.
PP got forced to flash with it now. It's a twisted advantage onto Elk, who's gone very deep, but he's got no mana. Will get healed, though, by the Nami. The ebb and flow keeping himself alive. All the summoners popped. Shun in a slightly dangerous position, but able, not the greatest weapons to continue brawling as the chakrams ran out.
But all of this starts from Elkin on, brutalizing the early lane and forcing Abel and PP God back. So they can't necessarily get themselves everything they want. It was a 3-man Bramble Smash from Xiaofang all the same. He actually had a pretty good play on an individual level in terms of the damage, but just Lucian, Nami, Xin Sao, if you play around this trio in the early game, it is so destructive.
Actually, the fact that Elk gets a load of mana back after that play feels really good, because he was running on fumes there for large portions and still manages to do the damage required. Now though, Binding Eclipse available. I wonder how much damage they want to throw back onto Elk. They get a decent trade, and of course he was the one with first blood, so he'll be looking to back. But now Xiaofang back on the map, having respawned, looking to get onto Bin, throws down a sapling. Won't get that much in the way of a slow. So it's just a bit of a look in as Lonfong eating a bit of an ugly trade in mid lane.
So you compare Shun to Xiaofang, right? And it's just like it's so harder to do much with the Maokai than it is the Shinso in the early game. And he's tried to, just doesn't manage to at the same time. He's lost a flash too. Much harder for him to impact the game.
Yeah, and we'll look at this replay again. This is all of Elk putting that ward down at level 1 as well. Like, this has been a long-term plan.
Has been. You're only level 2 on your support. PP God doesn't have access to everything, and Elk says, okay, you have no stats. And it's well played from PP God to make sure he doesn't get completely burst out. He doesn't flash away. I think he does end up dying. Oh boy. Pretty comprehensively. Shun is back bot side with a flash. PP God's gonna die.
Abel's got a flash and a barrier, but PP God really doesn't have much to do as Abel decides, well, maybe I can trade back on in here and get something. Has got barriers and chakrams. Flashes on forwards. Does get the kill. That's important. At least Abel gets some gold. On. Does not fall down as the ebb and flow once again comes on through to heal people up.
Abel's Aphelios is so crazy. He ends up getting a load of chakrams from that. I think he used a 3-weapon switch actually to get through all of it. Red, white, manages to get himself onto those huge amount of chakrams. He manages to get a kill back. Also denies Elk having the last of the double buffs too, which potentially could have sustained him up to push in another wave. And stops Elk from getting towards the back end of that play too. So OMG gets something there, but still, it is still very much damage control in the bot side. As now with this Lucian Nami and the Xin Sao ahead, very dangerous to see that. Abel, yeah, this is the quickest way to stack chakrams. You get a flamethrower over the wave and it gives you a lot of them, uses the barrier and says, okay, Shun's not here, he's gone towards my support, I'll get one back.
And it's the right call from Abel. I don't think leaving by giving kills freely over the other team is what you're going to do, especially as the Aphelios in this lane. You want to get to your items as fast as possible. That means trading a little bit of that gold and taking what you can where you can. Of course, it does mean the flash and the barrier down, so potentially a bit more vulnerable himself. But of course, barrier not the longest cooldown, at least PP God will have to heal up. So if they do play defensive, they should have enough ways to hold on for now. The problem is Elk and On, not miles off the level 6 power spike themselves.
One of the issues for this is going to be, you're going to try at about, 10, 12, 14 minutes. It depends really on how the team wants to flex around things early. You're going to want to move the Aphelios Milio into mid lane and Lonfong on this, the Yone out into a side lane. And the problem is you're going to lose in mid lane, and you're going to lose in side lanes too, realistically, with Knight still winning out in the individual matchup, getting a significant CS lead. Knight's LeBlanc, legendary champion for him. One of the greatest players of this champion too. We talked about the Ahri being banned away from him and how much damage he's done with that. This LeBlanc has done with that for years as well. And as you rightfully said, Shun still has flash, still going towards this mid lane. And Lonfong missing out on trades very heavily here. Even misses the W at the end as well, so we can't get a huge trade back.
Mid lane, Knight still winning out in this race. Again, it is range versus melee, so Yone can still end up in a slightly tricky position. Has been forced to ult there as Cube got on top of his head. Bot side we still stand. They're going to get the culling on, but there's a wave in the way, and there's a cozy campfire as well. So not a huge amount of value there from that initial culling, trying to abuse the level 6 spike as it came on through.
It really does depend on how much now they can get back with that ultimate being down. Abel, once he hits level 6, will have a huge amount of damage. He's got shields to tank up this wave. Dragon almost certainly going down. Mid lane is being completely brutalized by Knight as well, who's up huge amounts of CS and putting Lonfong into a very difficult situation. OMG just kind of have to wait and see where their opening comes. They are very much on the defensive footing up until a mistake is made. Maybe when they have level 6s and one item as well for the Aphelios. That could be a big moment for them.
Yeah, Lonfong was debating a reset there, but knows that the wave coming, it's not a cannon wave either. It'd be a lot of CS to give up, and he's only in a slightly dicey position, looking to probably W the wave with that cleave and trying to shield his way towards being able to trade at least a little bit here. But Knight continues to be obnoxious, claims the first plate of this lane as well, and managing to make the AP LeBlanc feel okay so far.
See what Knight was doing there as well. You saw it at the end. If you time it so the turret shot is just firing at a minion, and then you've just jumped in and do some damage, you can flip back before the turret switches aggro over onto you. Yone can do it too with the Z. Both these champions very good once you get the enemy pushed under tower, and they can poke them out quite well, considering the fact that mid lane under tower poke is not always the easiest thing to get.
Exactly that. All the while we go back towards bot lane. Elk trying to get a trade on, but Abel has got the onslaught on. Flash away from PP, got away from the prisoners. Actually, it's a solid use of the binding eclipse there as the gravitum comes on through in the weapon cycle. Abel holds on down here. Will be a summoner and a heal away from PP God as Elk trades back, eats the ebb and flow, but is back to an okay HP point because of it.
You can see again how much Abel and PP got on stuff like the Aphelios have been very, very strong as a duo. Mechanically, they know how to play out these situations. OMG last year really felt like Abel and PP God, when they were on form, made this team into a top LPL team for the brief time that they were at the top of the table. And towards that in summer 2023, you couldn't keep it sadly up towards the end of that split and into playoffs, but really for a while you had to wonder how much magic could still come out of this roster, which did have on the whole a really good 2023. Abel and PP got the only remaining members from that team now.
Yeah, of course, Abel now with his barrier back up, Flash nearly there as well. They've done a fairly good job of keeping at least one set of summoners available to play out the lane, and is holding on to farm lead nominally here as Abel, doing okay as Longfong needs to be a bit afraid. We'll have the chains come through, we'll try and get his way out, but has actually ended up with the fate sealed, decently buffered away from with the unbound soul, but it's just not enough. Shun Crescent guards to get the final tick of damage, and they do get a kill in mid lane with the solid roam from the jungle.
Oh boy, ult down, plates down, CS down, no teleport to get back to lane. Knight is starting to pop off. Looks like he's going towards the Ludens, not the Malignants. I actually think I prefer Malignants on LeBlanc right now. It just allows you so much more slick combos, and the stats are still very good for you. But what this does mean is that the poke trades are going to be that much more destructive when they do happen because of the extra proc of that Ludens. Knight gonna get himself a recall, 3 plates in mid lane. This mid lane matchup, I'm sorry that this is your LPL step in, Ludfong. This is not going to be an easy one.
And it was kind of going okay-ish, was holding on as PP got down to 10% HP as Elk takes a moment to really put the screws on, but that one gank mid cost Longfong a whole 2 extra plates, a whole wave and a half. He gives a kill over to a Xin Zhao that's already 2 kills deep, putting him at 3, and Longfong is about to face check Shun again. Bot side we go, but it does mean because Elk was left alone with everyone else elsewhere, Elk goes down, flashing as well with that, so at least they get something onto a player that can carry. 2 kills for Abel, but a second death for Longfong. Kinda sucks, poor guy returns to lane and there's a Xin Zhao waiting for him in the bush. There's no wards anywhere!
However, OMG with 2 kills on the Aphelios, I feel like that's a lead they can play around. Remember what we were saying right from draft? We said, hey, you know, OMG, they probably do outscale in a 5v5. Can they get to a 5v5? That's the question. With 2 kills on the Aphelios, maybe OMG can force BLG to come to them around objectives and say you have to play into the Aphelios now and really see whether the Shun and Knight with their huge lead in the mid jungle can make the difference.
Yeah, and poor Longfong here. You just look at the river. There are wards absolutely everywhere. We'll get a replay of Longfong shoving the wave, looking to put some wards down and immediately fans Shun. He has been in lane for 10 seconds.
It is so annoying playing against LeBlanc with Mimic up. You can just double jump towards you, get that chain. The threat range is so nasty. Of course, we get the flashes here as well. You see that Abel flashes out of the tidal wave in the queue. There was a chance that he died there, actually, think about it. If he gets hit by the CC, and the bubble hits afterwards too, he could have potentially gone down in that short turnaround. Lucian has huge burst damage, so good awareness to flash and not make it a question.
Yeah, exactly that. The problem is as well, because PP God's been locked in lane with Abel, the ability to contest these wards has been really, really limited, and Shun being in the enemy jungle as well. Xiaofang and PP Gold not really on the map to control vision in the way they'd like, with particularly the Maokai. Means this kind of thing is just so free. Going for the Fate Sealed. Does land a bit of DPS. It's just not enough, and Xiaofang is just not here in time.
Oh, Xiaofang can't save his mid laner.
Oh, Abel. With the breath of life in the barrier, keeps himself alive, but now Shun looking to come over the wall, can start to look for some more. This gets very dicey indeed.
He's just charged up his Q, he has flash, he can jump forward, there's no flash in either of these bot laners. He ends up waiting for that cooldown to go through. I think Shun's been really good at this, by the way, just making sure he can hit a target, a ward, and charge up his Q. He's doing it again, and see if he can use that again. Using that Q, he might be able to flash forward. He's constantly holding threat. PP got unable, need to stay away from the Xin Zhao flash E range.
Tidal Wave doesn't really land. The Aqua Prism does, though! That means Abel's dead to rights.
Oh, and they have to stay away from the Xin Zhao, but they can't stay away from the wave. The tide brings death. There's now Xiaofang, no flash, he could die too. Knight gonna be picking up this. He has a Medjai's at 13 minutes. He wants to snowball.
Oh, this was sign in the fans' hands in the crowd. They knew exactly what they were doing when they drew him with that. He just turns up bot, doesn't get a kill, but gets to be very annoying.
You know that meme of like, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't say, but there'd be signs.
Yeah.
It's Knight buying Medjai's just over and over again. He is so ready to start popping off. And the thing is, if OMG can fight towards a straight 5v5, yeah, I think they can play front to back well. But if he's playing around these side lanes and playing around these scrappy dives, the Shinzao with the ultimate being able to buy time, and then Knight having so much damage and mobility, very, very hard to deny having value. BLG, they're going to walk towards potentially a bot side dragon. Shun just pailing off here, I think, realizing that he's not going to be able to take this in time before there's a real contest. He might go towards both. I was wondering if there was going to be something from Xiaofang going towards it, and instead, no. It was just a delay on it. Gets the scuttle anyway, 2 for 1, and now Knight hiding in Fog of War. Very dangerous to walk up to this guy.
I know he's there, but they feel like they can trade it out, and actually Knight... Spot a bother there. Everyone from BLG can still come around. That cozy campfire is put.
He can kill here. He has flash.
Flash forwards, and the mimic distortion deletes him. That was very over-eager from Abel and PP God to step forward.
By the way, that wasn't even the Mimic. That was actually just the straight flash. He used the Mimic in the one before that, so it's even... That was the lesser form of his combo. He just flashes for a QW, and Abel just completely disrespects it. This is one of the big issues with Aphelios in any meta, actually, is that you have to stand and fight. You cannot do that against stats. PP God separated out, flashes away.
Still do a lot of damage. Longfong going to have to ult away and does so. Gets him a chaos on top of his head as well. And poor old Longfong and the rest of OMG. This has started from the level 1. From knowing where the Maokai has started to invading the bot side. Keeping so many people locked in lane has put this into a horrible position because Shun has won multiple lanes and the play from BLG with these early spiking fights has been brutal. Now he turns up top.
Yeah, it's the first time top lane's featured in this game, and it's going to be a cube getting reduced into squares as he takes an extra dimension out of him. Shun gets another kill. 4-0 and 3. This mid jungle, how impressive are they?
Well, that one's rough to see. The exponential's becoming slightly less exponential there. He is going to be a bit difficult to manage as we head over to Bin, just shoving in the wave. Xiaofang is here, and again, this poor Maokai, 0-1-1. Every ultimate has felt a little bit sad.
The mathematician of me has to correct you that it would be a cubic equation, not.
Yeah, so what's the name for like? So you have squared, cube, and then the ones beyond that. Like,
no,
what are they called?
Well, they just kind of like it depends on the order of magnitude. So you
Yeah,
have
I thought that was an exponential.
No, exponential is different. That's 1 to the x or n to the x. It's the power. The power it goes to keeps going up and up.
That's
which means
like,
that it keeps.
It's powers. That's
Yeah,
the thing. It's exponential in the sense of like the x being like.
So it's actually the okay. Anyway, talk about that. The point is like it's like that. It's that meme of like I'm doing 1,000 calculations per second and they're all wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I couldn't remember the name. It's been a while since I've done higher end math. Such as it is.
Oh well, okay, we've got on with heal and ult. People got it. This is only jungle support. Elk could just turn up and kill them.
Xiaofang, what was the decision making there? That one feels a little bit over-eager. Maybe the desperation sticking on through, thinking they finally caught someone. Instead, he just dies to a culling. Elk now at 3 kills, 4 in the mid, 4 in the jungle. This game is a complete disaster.
I think we saw this Mythbust this episode before. Can you cut down a tree with a minigun? Yes, you can. Elk just shreds through Xiaofang. There's 3 grubs onto both teams, which means that whoever has access to that is going to have that extra amount of damage. Knight absolutely does. Worth noting, over the 10 stacks for the Magi, so he has 10% movement speed. That's really nasty too. Can step out a lot of the Yone and Renekton's kind of power as they try and use move speed differential to get big plays. Knight can use the Herald to go into an inner turret. Rarely that we see that one happening, normally since breaking one of these outer turrets. BLG, this has been destructive as you like.
Shun might need to be a bit careful here. There's still going to be some potential damage. Everyone's here. They get the Fate Sealed that is buffered away from with a well-timed Crescent Guard, but a flash shot in from Abel with a wonderful Moonlight Vigil flash combo. Cube on the other side, hit with the barrel, will be forced to pop his own ultimate, but now Bin actually in a spot of bother here, gets some damage back, needs to be a bit aware of the empowered Cube. Elk coming on over means this is not going to be a 1v1 for long. Short on the body slam, flash on him for a W that leads to very little in the end, and it's another kill over to Elk.
Yeah, I think Cubic's just gone down to quadratic now. He's definitely been put down to size. See, I've got a couple more of these around the place. We'll wait to see if it goes to logarithmic. That's when you know it's really, really bad. It'll just keep getting smaller.
It's not base 10 anymore. It's not base 10.
It's not based at all. He just keeps dying. But BLG, no, there is absolutely no room for quarter here. There is no quarter. Abel PP God. Look, there's a lot of vision here in BLG's favour.
The try is not bad, Crozy Camford. Actually, the heal's not going to get them quite out of range. On without the flash already should just die. Abel picks that one up, and Elk down the summoner, a little bit too eager to find the play.
OMG firing back around the Aphelios. 4 kills, all of them here onto the Aphelios' back. BLG seriously though still. Knight is requiring 3 people to answer his lane.
Back to get the tower!
Goes back against the tower, all the same, styling on them. But BLG, I mean, put it this way, right? We kind of start off the day saying, like, look, it is a difficult game for OMG. They don't have the starting mid laner, and again, our condolences to Angel. I am glad that BLG are not letting this slip, though. They're saying, like, look, we respect you. Even though you've got this mid laner in, we respect you, and we're playing as though we would do against a top team. Teams like that. You see that Bin doing some great trades against Cube.
Wonder where On Blue is flashed. He flashed to give the Tidecaller's blessing to Elk before he dashed on in. That's where it was lost. The Imperial Mandate complete there. 3 items for Knight as well. Luden's Companion, a very stacked Medjai's, and a Shadow Flame. At this point in the game, sub 20 minutes, we are going to see some pretty damn brutal combos from the LeBlanc.
BLG pushing in towards inhib turrets at 19 minutes in. This is so disgusting. BLG, of course, they have themselves towards Soul at this point too, getting themselves that 3rd dragon at just near enough 20 minutes. Pretty quick in terms of how they're stacking these ones up. What came down here? Oh no, don't tell me he slaughtered someone else. I didn't even see this.
Oh god.
So it's the chain double sigil, jump forwards, no counterplay, 16 dark stacks, no, Medjai stacks rather. Yeah. Knight. He's been a real avid reader. He has been over his career. He really knows how to snowball more than anyone else. I'm really glad that at least someone out there on a top team knows how to use this item, how it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, using the Sigils of Malice, and LeBlanc kind of slipped away from meta with Static Shift disappearing, as we said, but Knight saying, well, maybe you guys should remember exactly how she works when you're running with a Lucian, when you're running with the Xin Sao. More ways to snowball to this kind of point of power. Feels pretty good. Elk dashing on forwards and no real response. PP God down to about half HP.
Now, really is just so much damage. How do you outplay this? The only way you outplay this is hoping that someone oversteps into a Malakal when you've got the Aphelios there as well. It's the only way this works. But hoping that, you know, the LeBlanc and the Lucian do that at the same time, particularly now Knight is such a strong point in power, is going to be absolutely insane. Worth noting as well that once Medjai's and the Death Cap are completed, if we get to 25 Dark Seals, I'm pretty sure that Medjai's gives you almost 200 AP as an item when it's buffed up by the Death Cap. 40% on top of the 25 stacks, 5 AP per stack. Knight is going to one-shot some fools.
All of OMG's kills are on Abel, who has got himself a 2nd item in a dream. Xiaofang about to face check Knight and loses his HP bar. Not going to stick around to do a full combo. 3rd item complete on the other side for Elk, though, means there is still a bit of a discrepancy to work with.
Yeah, I just redid the calculations. I do that occasionally. 203 AP from a 25 stack Medjai's with a Death Cap buffing it up. So that's how much you got to deal with. He's already very strong. It's going to get worse than this, folks. And feels like OMG, they're trying to split the map, get some objective bounties. Lanfang, he is just trying to survive. Very hard to do so. Blind pick Yone, punished by the best mid laner in the league. You can see that Knight single-handedly holding back the tide in mid lane as Baron is taken.
Again, as we said, it got harder and harder as the bot lane pressure began to come on through, and BLG looking to find something. The Nature's Grasp comes across, and OMG look to retreat, but where do they go?
I don't know whether BLG... I think they just want to stop recalls of anything. Ben might just throw his ult into a bush or just keep his flash there. I think that's a big point. He just used his ult there. Abel and PP God can't recall. He might die for this because there's 3 people there, but even then he has flash and E. He's just going to stop this. Knight is now coming. The rest of BLG will keep pushing through mid lane with the Baron buff. They can't kill Bin in time. There's a teleport going away from the base as BLG are toying with OMG.
And he has to reset immediately. Oh, Lanfang, they thought there was more going on and they're just going to lose the whole base.
But look at this, they're still going to be recalling. They get Milio back, but now Aphelios is left on his own. This could be a really dangerous moment. Knight can assassinate both of them.
Oh, that's both of the carries. They're both not here. Lanfang thought to TP in to save his players, and instead, the base is under siege. They've got Baron to their name, and it's just a cannon minion chunking out this tower.
Okay.
The picture finally ends. They've still not managed to reset.
Knight might just teleport into the base to support the team. They are still stopping the bags! It's like waiting for a bus that never comes.
Oh my god, the wheels have come off. They've basically sat on the side of the highway.
Aphelios is dead!
He's dead as Knight hasn't left. They were trying to hitchhike and find an axe murderer. More stacks of the page in Knight's book, and instead the game just ends in the most comical of fashions.
Knight goes back, buys a death cap, gets his 200 AP item, And BLG are slaughtering
Oh
through
my
OMG.
god, it's Xiaofang who just about gets onto someone, but PP got dies to Elk dashing on forwards. And BLG just make it look easy. This poor Maokai has just not been in the game. It has been a rough old time in the jungle. That pressure there led into mid lane ganks, it led into bot lane ganks, it led into the kind of snowball you rarely see in League of Legends. If people want to ask who the best team in the LPL is, well, why don't you show them this game?
We'll end that one out there. I saw a very funny comment Mecha in chat saying, "Where are the ads? Save us, we can't see this." Yeah, you know what, buddy? I agree with you. Welcome back, folks. There's, that was a hell of a game one. BLG, again, showing how... If BLG win bot lane, the game is over.
Yeah.
If you end up giving bot lane and then Shun a platform to play off of bot lane, you cannot play against this team. There is a reason why they are still going towards the Lucian Nami, where if you give over the lane pressure picks of Varus, Ashe, Kalista, BLG run through teams with it.
And that then leads to, on getting out of lane while PP God is trapped, he roams mid, he gets a kill onto Longfeng, who was already having a difficult time in a range versus melee matchup, inevitably. But then he dies, he loses 2 plates, he comes back to lane, Shun is still in the bush because the entire river is lit up with wards. He dies again, Knight is then snowballed, the bot lane's still caught in a tower, and yes, Abel actually has a pretty solid game. But it doesn't matter, because the rest of the map has benefited from the early leads.
And I need myself another drink, folks. We're going to leave that pretty there. There isn't that much to talk about in this one. Longfeng, very difficult situation for him. Double banned out in the second round. I honestly wonder if now OMG have to say, look, we just have to first pick, early pick a mid laner. I wonder if we just have to do that. Do the Yasuo or the Akali, regardless of the composition. They might not have been able to practice that long with him, but you cannot allow this guy to just have a crap matchup in a counter pick matchup. At least give him one of his stronger picks. I wonder if you do have to just blue 2-3 Yasuo Akali, one of those two. Get yourself a Gragas on your team, or a Rel or whatever.
Yeah.